Now, hello and welcome along to this week's edition of the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. It's a hurling weekend, so a hurling orientated one. That's why we've got our expert man in, Fergie. He's here to give us his thoughts, and we said we'd let Peter in as well to have a chat too. We've loads to get to, and I suppose just firstly, Fergie spotted the minute he came in the top that I'm wearing today, Fergie, and I just have to say a big congrats firstly to everybody that was involved in the Sheila Camden Memorial Tournament back in Clare. Michal Talty and the Camden family, what they've done over the last couple of years has just been unbelievable, and you can see that the HPV vaccine is incorporated this year. Beautiful tops, and the Up for Life as well. Joe Brolly's foundation, he was there twice, shall we say, on Saturday, and if you don't know what I mean, check out any of the videos on social media. Joe Brolly, interviewed by Joe Brolly, was a new one for Clare. A lot of strange things have happened in Clare, but that took the biscuit. Just well done to Michal. I wanted to start off by saying that, and continued success with that particular one. In terms of competitive action this weekend, Fergie, we're down to the final two in the Clare Senior Hurling Championship. There's a lot of side stories that we want to get to in the second half of the podcast related to that a little bit as well, in terms of the Clare senior job too. But the two best teams in the county, are they in the county final at the moment?
I think so. In the overall bigger picture, Aina Kilnamona probably could have nightmares at times thinking of that. They probably had their foot on the bridge's throat at times in the game and just couldn't put them away. But when you do wait up, great credit to the bridge as well. I thought, when they were in trouble, their big guns stood up. Malone started really coming into goal. They started coming into Shannon Murray. The swap in Shannon Murray back in McCarthy was a real smart, good move, and they started to dictate from there. But Aina Kilnamona were disappointed, I'd say, that they had the bridge rattled. They had them really rattled, and when you have your foot on the bridge's throat, you really need to keep putting them away. And it was just a bridge finding a new lease of life. And when they went at it, they really went at it for that period of maybe 10 to 13 minutes. I was putting it down to my stopwatch, where they really ignited. And it's very hard then, when they got momentum, they turned around, they shifted 4 points around and went up 4 points. So it was nearly an 8-point turnaround. And Aina Kilnamona can find a little bit probably disappointed. The goal, I thought, I've looked back on it since, I can't see any infringements really for the goal to be disallowed. I thought it was a bad decision, and I thought overall, look at it, I thought Jarlath Donlan, I like him as a referee as such. I think he's up with the play. He tries to commit himself to being very close to the play at times, but his officials let him down the weekend. There was an off the ball incident as well, right in front of one of the linesmen at the sitting down standing side. And it wasn't picked up, and it was a blatant red card. So, Aina Kilnamona can probably feel a little bit lucky to run down to 14 men, but feel awful aggrieved that they had a goal at a vital time, probably disallowed. I'd love to know the reasons why for it.
And was there any indication given, Fergie, as to what was the reason? At that minute, was there any hand signal or anything given?
I couldn't see any hand signal, and then I thought it might have been for a square ball, but it was clear he ran from a good bit out into the square, which is legit to do. Then somebody else said to me coming out of the field after the game, out of the park, that he'd the whistle blown earlier just slightly earlier for some other free or something, and I couldn't see that happening either.
Yeah, but the free was from the edge of the square, so whatever he gave the free for was in that area. There was nothing that happened. It was James O'Halloran played it across from the wing.
That's right.
Nothing had happened that you would have blown the free for in that particular area. I thought it was strange as well.
Yeah, I was trying to get my hand, and even going back and watching back in it when I went home, I still couldn't figure out what the infringement was. So it was a vital period of the game. But it was a strange one. But look, I suppose just go back to the game itself again. We have spoken about it from the start. There's no doubt about Six Mile Bridge is that when they get to this business end of the championship, even not playing spectacularly well now at times in the game, they're still so difficult to beat. They bring that real spirit and never say die attitude when they come to the business end. Not that they have it at the start as well, they do, but it's easier to get to them at the start of a championship. And what I really liked about them is that they're finishing the game so strong, fitness wise. I heard a few given out there 3 or 4 months ago. They were running the hills of Cratloe early morning stuff, and they'd be killed and he'll kill them, and it's standing to them now. It's really standing to them now. When other teams with 15 minutes to go, the choke is coming out a little bit, the Bridge are coming into a fitness zone of their own, and it's getting them over the line.
Yeah, the last 15 minutes Was it a case of Aina Kilnamona not having the fitness to mentally see it out? Was it a bit of panic? Like, I thought the shot puck outs and the little frees that followed and stuff, they were all just momentum killers. They were all confidence drainers. Like, they had the game in the balance big time. And is it just a case of a lack of experience out the field? I mean, obviously Pat Kelly's hugely experienced, Tomas was in as well, but a bit of naivety, a little bit of tiredness. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can throw all those into the pot and say there was a bit of all of that in it, Derrick. You know, the one thing is that, you know, the cuteness at that stage, you know, of maybe the shot puck outs I couldn't understand either, you know, and one or two of them went astray. But, you know, killing the game off and slowing it down to a real, you know, when the bridge started to get momentum, it needed Aina Kilnamona in to stop the flow of the game, break the momentum from the bridge, and that comes from one of the points you mentioned, a bit of experience and that. But you know, let's give credit to the bridge too. You know, they just said let's go at this, and their big men stood up then. You know, Malone, Golden stood up, Morey stood up. You know, Shana was outstanding when he went across McCarthy. It was changing the game for me. But they really went at it, and in that period, this was the life out of Aina Kilnamona, and they just weren't able to react with all the things that you've said, Derrick. A little bit of all those in the pot, and they found it very hard. Then once the bridge went up to 4 points, it was very hard to get at it again.
When Aina Kilnamona, Fergie, looked back in the year, got the Clare Cup final, semi-final, championship, did it take a few steps forward this year?
100%. Where they'd be very disappointed. They definitely did. We mentioned in our article, in our podcast, that they needed to take a big scalp along the year to show that this wasn't just a flash in the pan stuff. You know, the team I fancied from the day off, Cratloe to win the Hamilton again. I came out of the park after Aina Kilnamona changing my mind on Cratloe and the way Aina Kilnamona played. Do you know? And you know, I saw something in them that day that really sent out that they were processing really of being assassins as such, and I really liked the way they went at the game that day against Cratloe. And I think, yeah, when they look back over the year, were disappointed maybe, you know, and there was a few soft frees that the bridge got, and they could have argued that they should have got one or two more frees, and they look back at it and say, disappointment, yeah, but real progress made. And the important thing going forward now for them, I think, is with Fergie O'Loughlin. He stays on, and he really builds on this year, and he really gets that group motivated early doors for next year, and get the fitness levels up to an extra gear. And I tell you, because they have the hurlers, you know, underage success down through the years. You know, it doesn't guarantee you anything, but it gives you a great base to start with. And I think this year they've seen that if they can gel all the things together, they can get the real spirit of the Aina Kilnamona thing going, and the real hunger, the real family-like situations. They'll be difficult to beat.
What about the performance, Fergie? And loads to give you a platform on which to gloat, but in fairness to you, you did go with Cratloe at the start of the year, and you've already mentioned it there. What a second half performance. I mean, we expected Crusheen to make it a fight. They did, but I mean, Rian Considine's goal was probably the early knockout blow after 30 minutes and 50 odd seconds. Like, it just phenomenal second half, wasn't it? It
was a phenomenal second half from Cratloe, but it was mind-boggling from Crusheen as well, and how they just capitulated into a whole. And again, when I went home at the recorder, I went back and watched it again. They just completely two things for me. Their whole game plan in the first half, I thought, bar maybe the first 10 minutes where they were asleep, but after that 20-minute period in the first half, excuse me, where they just totally drowned it out, that danger area that we know Cratloe can be very dangerous at, from midfield back towards the Crusheen goalkeeper. They just absolutely, at one stage, if you look back on the video, you'll only see one Crusheen forward with 10 minutes to go to the first half, inside in his own half. They just swarmed that area. They created an atmosphere where Cratloe had no space. They broke down ball, they overturned it, and they moved it in with great accuracy, great pace, great speed, and their half forwards that came back very deep were able to get up orthodox. Now, to me, and looking back at it, that zapped them. It absolutely took every ounce of energy out of them. They went in 3 points up at half time, and for 20 minutes that game, well deserved it. But it absolutely, the lungs must have been gone. And I'm putting it down to in the second half then, they just were out of steam, ran out of petrol, not able to do the same thing like they did in the first half, and they needed to. And then Cratloe did what we saw them doing against Kilmaley in the second half, right from the off. Took their game, planted it, stuck with it, believed in themselves, backed themselves, and got off to the ideal start in what I thought was some performance from Wayne Constantine. Now, there'll be questions, why did they start him out in the half-hour line the first half? Because he's an inside forward. He's clinical. And them 2 goals, I thought, not alone, you know, they weren't net busters of goals, but they were so calm. They were so, you know, well thought up. You know, he didn't panic under pressure. He turned back out. The first one, another fellow would have struck it, the angle was there, came back out, drifted into the net. And the second one then, that second goal started, and it just summed up to me the performance of Crusheen in the second half. It started from Michael Hawes having to go back towards his own goal. Didn't realise when he turned it, there wasn't a Crusheen player within 10 yards. Played a ball across, I don't know, on the other wing was Shane Gleeson. Shane Gleeson put it out to the centre, out to Conor McGrath. Conor McGrath had time to turn. All these 3 players now had no pressure from any Crusheen player. A diagonal ball across the constant rounded man. Do you know, that summed up the Crusheen performance to me, and it summed up what Cratloe are very good at doing. You give them space, you give them time on the ball, and by God, that hurt you. You know, so great credit to Cratloe. You know, we keep speaking about the tiredness, and you know, and people are saying, hey, they won't be able to talk about it this week. But it's credit to them that they've obviously recovered very, very well. You know, because the energy they had in the second half compared to Crusheen was the difference, and the hunger to go at it. So 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it makes for a cracking county final. I think
fantastic.
Is it the first ever between Sixmilebridge and Cratloe?
I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be some crack.
And neighbours, you know, some of the bridge lads plays football with Cratloe, you know. So
there's plenty intermarriages as well. I think that's going to come into play as well.
We won't bring marriages into now the week that's in it.
We'll move swiftly on because time is running on this first half, but obviously we have to touch, Fergie, on the intermediate semi-finals as well. Just in the junior, I guess, big wins for the 2 teams there, but in terms of the intermediate semi-finals, cracking games. St. Joseph's to Bearfield, what a turnaround against Scariff. Was it 10 down to 11 up? I mean, that's
unbelievable.
Incredible, yeah.
It's incredible, and in difficult conditions. You know, if there was a dry,
I think that's an understatement.
Isn't it? Yeah. You know, it was unbelievable to think there were 10 points down in very, very difficult conditions where scores can be at times very, very hard to get. To turn that around and as you say, up a point going into injury time, it was absolutely unbelievable. And you know, when you Dora Bearfield, because we've asked, and I'm sure within their own squad, within their own parish, they've asked questions many times of the battle, of the stomach for the fight, you know, and they showed real character. It can only serve them very, very good going forward, Peter, I think.
Yeah, second extra time win as well after Tupper.
Yeah, good. You know, good mentality to that, to make sure now that we've got it extra time, we're going to hammer home. So, you know, it can only serve that group well going forward.
Scariff 10 points up though. I mean, the story is St. Joseph's coming back, but if you're a Scariff hurler or Minter.
I was just thinking about it during the last few days, lads. Haven't we seen, we used to normally speak about, you know, 2 points being the dangerous lead in hurling, but over the last 2 or 3 years, even at inter-county level, the team that's up 9 or 10 points are really in danger of getting caught. Whether it's the mentality of that we're in the comfort zone now, we take a step back and we see out the game and we just go along now. There's no need to keep that high intensity efforts going, but it's an awful dangerous lead now, 9 or 10 points. So, but great credit due to Bearfield, I think. And yeah, Peter, Scariff will ask many questions of how do we let that sleep, or how do we let that lead go, and how did we fall asleep during that period. So and it would have been a fantastic chance for Scariff to get to an intermediate final, because they weren't too far away last year. Do you know, they were knocking on the door, some very good performances last year, and just met a very good Fecal team, you know, that really ran the legs off them. But no, look at going forward, you know, they'll be disappointed as well, similar to Inagh Kilnamona, but they'll take an awful lot from it to know that they're not far away, because, you know, call the Dora Bearfield Broadford final now. It's 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the repeat of 2016, so you have that revenge element for Broadford.
Correct, yeah.
Who took a while to break down Smith O'Brien's at the weekend. They were level at half time. I think it was 2 Smith O'Brien's goals late on kind of saw that gap eventually, but Broadford had taken over. Like, and two teams fairly evenly balanced. Broadford in the Clare Cup semi-final, that stood to them as well, but some big names missing too. Angus O'Brien in particular was one that suffered a really bad injury, and we wish him all the best in the recovery there, but it's not going to be a very, very easy call, that one.
It's not, and I suppose the real talking point of the Broadford Smith O'Brien's game was, and I was going to it, I had 2 cousins home, and I was bringing them to it, and I was telling them about coming down that this is going to be a right titanic physical battle. It's going to be a fantastic game, even though it's second tier level, trying to explain between senior and intermediate. And the disappointment of Chris Maguire's refereeing was unbelievable, lads. 37 frees in the game. Like, you nearly as a referee be saying, I keep 37 frees in the whole year, never mind in one game. He didn't allow the game to develop. He treated the play like, if I'm a coach and I'm training all year for 8 or 9 months, high intensity, high tackling, high work ethic, flowing up and down the field, what the game is about. The game is about movement and flow, letting it flow, and he just absolutely destroyed the game. It was hard to believe. I was never discussing.
Was it that kind of game? Were any of the frees justified?
Stop. I'd say out of 37 frees, there was 20 of them he shouldn't have blown for. Do you know, it was a high. There was always going to be a physical encounter. Yes, and lads have to know the cut-off line of between going to the edge and not being sent off or giving away frees, rather than it was like an under-6 game for most of it, and it was absolutely. Now, whether he was mentored before the game to say, look, you need to have your hands on this right from the start, you need to lay down a marker as a referee. But no one wants to be looking at a referee. We want to see the game of hurling played. I'm sure if he was man enough and it is time back again and looking back at it, he'd have said, look, a lot of the frees were unnecessary. The game should have flowed a lot better than it did. And he's a young referee, and I think he could be a good referee, but whether he's been mentored, he was the same, similar to Kilmaley and Cracklow in the second half. I thought there was maybe 7 or 8 frees in the second half that shouldn't have been blown for at all. Do you know?
Did it have an impact on the final result, do you think?
Not really.
The free side of it?
I don't think so. Look, there's the game itself. It was such stop-start. It was absolutely, at half-time there wasn't an atmosphere in the place. Everybody around me, all we were talking about was the referee. Jesus, he'd blown. I just thought, come on. Teams train to play hurling. They don't train to be free takers or train to be stop-start or, let the game flow. Yes, okay, you have to have control. Yes, you have to be seen to be, you come to the edge, I'll deal with you. You have to be a responsible referee. But by God, it was to the other level of embarrassing. Coming out of the game. But look, for Broadford, they'll be delighted because they're right scare against the bridge. Mm-hmm. They got a right scare against the bridge and going to penalty shootout, and they'll be delighted they've got over the line. Now for them it will be totally focused now. They'll know that they have to totally just tune in for the next week and a half to make sure that there's no stone left unturned in the mental preparation, and no side shows. Let them get it, because it's going to be a cracker. It's going to be a cracker of a final. Let's hope the weather holds up a little bit than it has been over the last few days. But you have 2 really, really good hurling teams now going at it, and 2 teams that you would nearly have signed off at the start of the year and said, if you were given a choice who's going to be in the intermediate final, you'd nearly put down Broadford and Bearfield if they didn't cross paths early doors. And that was including Tubber. Were lucky to meet probably Bearfield, but it's an enthralling final.
Absolutely, we'll have loads of build-up to that, obviously the intermediate and senior finals to come. We've got plenty more talking points here in the Champions Sports Chat podcast. You don't want to miss them. Join us again in just 1 second. Now, you're welcome back to this week's edition of the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. Before the break, we mentioned that we're down to county hurling final at both intermediate and senior level, but somewhat incredibly, we're still in a situation whereby we, as of this Tuesday afternoon, we still have no clear senior hurling management in place. We still have no indication as to who's in or out of the running. We know Jerry O'Connor indicated he wasn't interested in continuing in the partnership with Donal Maloney. There's still been no public statement as to whether Donal is in or out in terms of interest. We presume he's in, but again, we don't know. The board have indicated that a review was going to take place. That was mentioned back in August. Nobody has asked a question since as to how that review is going, who's doing it, what they're doing it, or as Pat Short said one time, that's if they're doing it at all. So we've to take all that into account, I guess, lads. But it seems an incredible situation, Fergie. We've had in recent weeks Davy reappointed to Wexford. We've had Liam Cahill going to Waterford. John Kiley was tied up with Limerick. Cork announced a super panel for their senior right through down to minor as well, including Donal Logue, Kieran Kingston, Mactor Cunningham all in. It's getting to... Is it too strong a word to say it's getting to farcical now at this stage in Clare? Out of the championship since early June, no sign of a management, no public declaration of support for Donal Maloney. I mean, this is getting to mess stage. Mid-October, league is only around the corner. That Munster Co-op League is going to be before Christmas again, we understand. So what's happening? Everybody seems to be asking this question.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't for the life of me understand the process that this is going through, and I'd be quite honest with you, I feel so sorry for Donal Maloney. Donal Maloney is the only person that we know has indicated a will to take the Clare senior hurling job, and you know, there's been awful rumours about other people, but nothing clarified or nothing coming out. And you know, this review that we were supposed to have had, and will we have it? And what will the terms of references be to it? I presume that all club delegates going in before there's a county manager appointed will want to have a look at this complete review, then to go back to their clubs to decide the way forward on, is it a new appointment? Is it Donal Maloney staying on? And they'll want to have a look at the complete review to see where they stand and what they can offer to the gig, because at the end of the day, the clubs should have a final say in it, but sure, we know the way it operates. But I can't, and I just, you know, Donal Maloney doesn't deserve, in my opinion, the way he's been treated. You know, he's either been told that, you know, you have to wait, we've somebody else in mind, we have to wait for a signal off them, whether they're going, or you're getting the job, just wait. But look at county. I've been talking to county players during the week. They still are no wiser. They're anxious. They want to know, and they deserve to know. They're the most important people in this whole setup. And it's mind-boggling in what's happening, and I'd be expecting this week that we if we don't hear something this week, you know, our county final is on the following weekend, and I presume if it's new man in the helm, he'd want to have seen some bit of the championship. He'd want to have a look at new fresh approach coming in, new fresh players coming in, and as you said, like, you know, the time for preparation probably should have been a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and getting your backroom team in order, getting your plans in place, getting certain stuff that you need at inter-county level, because it's a real professional job, organised. I'm just disappointed that, you know, that we hadn't had clarification on the whole issue, whether it's still, the process is still ongoing, whether they're waiting for an answer from somebody else, or whether it's Donal Maloney's job. What is wrong with giving people clarification? What is this secrecy about?
Yeah,
I just would love to know.
And it also ties in, Peter, to the fact that, okay, we know it was a difficult summer last year for the Clare hurlers. I mean, we said obviously out by the you know, not long after the June weekend, but the new management, whoever that may be, whether it be Donal, whether it's Brian Lohan, whether it's whoever, right, they're obviously going to be starting on the back foot now, because Cork have had 2-3 weeks ahead of them. Waterford have now had 2-3 weeks ahead of them. I mean, you're immediately putting the new man, or the same new man, if that makes sense in terms of Donal, like putting him on the back foot straight away.
Yeah, there's massive uncertainty, and you know, Clare did have a poor year, but whatever people think of the outgoing management team, based on this year's performances, like, they deserve a way more respect than what they've got from the Clare County Board. Like, they have given years, I'd say they've given 10 years, Fergie, of massive commitment to Clare hurling, from underage up to minor 21 and then senior, you know. And you know, we can talk about performances and all that, but I mean, you have to, I suppose the first thing you have to show for people is respect, and the Clare County Board have shown no respect whatsoever to Donal Maloney, and like, he deserves a lot more than that. And I just don't know who's doing this review. Like, who is doing the review? Do we know? We don't know.
I mean, we asked the question, Joe Cooney, maybe 6 weeks ago. We had a piece in the Clare Champion, and it was just that the review was underway, and they were talking to underage squads and all that. Like, and the other side of this is we don't have a minor manager appointed either, because Fergie Lynch, as we understand it, is still unsure as whether he's continuing the job. Sean Doyle was the under-20 manager. We don't know, is he continuing? So while it's at the top level we haven't got the appointments, the equally important minor and 21 positions are left vacant too.
Yeah, they are, and you know, I kind of it's mind-boggling. You know, I'm actually, and it isn't too often I'm caught for words on certain issues, I think, but I'm just mind-boggled with the whole process. What is the reason for this?
Well, I have an idea, and I think instead of reviewing how the Clare Senior Hurling management got on this year, I think we should be reviewing the county board. You know, and we should be reviewing what are they doing. Like, they run the association in this county. They're not doing their job. But like, who's going to stand up and say that?
It comes down to what we spoke about here maybe 3-4 weeks ago at this stage, and that's the room full of delegates that go into these meetings and propose and second anything that's needing to be proposed and seconded, whether that be correspondence or whatever it is, and the big questions are not being answered. But
the big questions aren't being asked.
Well, but that's the annoying thing, isn't it? That, I mean, we had it the situation, the last board meeting, one club delegate, Christy Murray from Six Bridge, we were going over old ground here, stood up and asked, what's the story to the next hurling management? And we were told, the October meeting. And all right, okay. And nobody asked, well, where's it now? Like, don't tell us you're going to ratify it at the October meeting. Where's it now? And nobody's asking those questions, and nobody seems to be getting exercised or excited about it either. I mean, to be honest, I think we're nearly wasting our time here, the three of us getting worked up, because nobody else seems to be. So if the clubs are happy to sit back and accept whatever, sure, what's it us then? Like, I mean, there's a tie-in, Fergie, there's a general sense, and a lot of supporters that I've been talking to are saying the same thing, that there's this sense of apathy, there's this almost, they're just exasperated at this stage, they're just wrecked from the same old that's been going on.
Yeah, it is, and it's off-putting, and as I said, even finding it very hard to get words to put together just shows the bite for it, and you know, and with us, for example, sitting down here, there'll be no personal issues with us with anybody here. We're all good GAA Claremen that want the best for GAA in Clare. I want the best for that senior hurling team out there. I want them their preparation to be 120%. I want to be able to go to Thurles and to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, to Croke Park, hopefully, knowing that they've been given every opportunity to perform, and everything has been put in front of them to give them the best chance of survival and the best chance of competing. Now, we've started off already this year now on a real back foot, you know. And you're right, Derrick. You're right. You know, a lot of questions need to be asked, but we've said this on several occasions. You know, we have county board delegates going into county board meetings, and you might as well have shipped the dog going in. Do you know, I disagree with a lot of stuff Ger Loughnane said down through the years. I thought he was awful disloyal to his 95, 97 team with certain things he said about certain players and that. But the one thing he did say that made a little bit of sense now about the people going into county board meetings, and he highlighted that very, very well going back in many of his articles in the Star, and he was 100% right on that. 100% right in that. And it's time people stood up at county board level. Forget about the politics, forget about everything else that goes with it. Stand up and start asking genuine hard questions, and don't leave the West County until they're answered. Don't leave the West County until they're answered, and don't be pushed aside by anybody. They need to start asking the questions now of what is happening in this process, and if they don't, they are responsible. They are responsible. Them delegates are totally responsible for the downfall, if this is the downfall that we're going to have. And we should have more respect. We should have more respect for Donald Maloney. And he should, you know, the amount of time and effort that this man has given over the last 10 years to Clare GAA, and he's been treated in this kind of manner. And a fella that has did it at inter-county level, except Jerry O'Connor, for nothing. It's absolutely disgraceful. And people need to be brought to fore on this. And delegates need to start asking those tough questions.
And the other side of this, Peter, as well, that like there's all these rumours floating around of players that may or may not commit for next year. Obviously, we know Peter Duggan is heading off later on in the early November or thereabouts. Like, but there's talks of others going as well, and even from a point of view of bringing in new fellas that we've seen. You know, I mean, I made a point on social media over the weekend that if I was the Clare hurling manager coming in, the first thing I'd be doing is getting on the phone to the likes of Rian Constantine to make sure he's still involved. And of course, there were some smart addicts came back pointing out he was on the panel last year. I know he was on the panel last year, but it's about making sure that the lads that were on the panel last year are staying on it, because there's too much talk about lads going. And who does that? That's a manager. And at the moment, we don't have one. If a fella needs surgery on an issue or whatever, it's the manager does that. We don't have one at the moment, like, and these are the little knock-on effects as well that people may not be thinking about.
Yeah, look at where a lack of leadership provides a vacuum, and a vacuum creates uncertainty, and it's no good. Like this is of no help. I mean, the Clare hurlers are finished in championship for about 4 months. You know, June, July, August, September. We're now into October. I mean, I can definitely see why you would take a bit of time, but not this much time. You know, take a small bit of time. Definitely, okay, do a review. But who's doing the review? Where are the findings of the review?
Like that should go to a special meeting. That shouldn't wait until an October meeting.
No.
This should be, I mean, if we're talking about emergency meetings and all that, this is everyone will be coming back again online with this thing of sure, Galway have no one got and X has no one got. Forget about that. We're not Galway, we're not any other county. We're in a position whereby our golden generation that won those 321s, won the All-Ireland and won the league, are now on the brink of breaking up. The 13 squad is almost unrecognisable to the current squad. We've lost so many leaders on it. There's no need to name them out. There's 8, 9, 10 of them, right? And now we're talking about losing Peter Duggan. Now there's talks about losing other players as well. If that's not reason for emergency, if that's not reason for, you know, lads getting worked up, then I don't know what is.
Like I would, you just mentioned about Peter, like, you know, if you were appointed manager at this stage, you surely would be having him sit down and say,
I'd have his picture of Lynch in the airport. I'd be saying, lads, he's to go now.
You know, you surely be sitting down and saying, look, these are our plans for the year ahead. Can we accommodate you? Can you accommodate us? Can we work out something? Because he's a vital key to us. He's a vital cog to us. You know, here you have David Reedy is another player from Irogue that needs to get back on the Clare senior hurling panel. Conor McGrath.
Colin McInerney needs to be starting. There's so much.
You know, you can, you know, now that the hurling season is finished for the likes of David Reedy, you know, where you wouldn't probably still be going to Colin McInerney and Conor McGrath because you want him to focus on the club, like, and you know that they're training well and they're hurling. But David Reedy is one that comes to mind straight off, is that I want to make sure that he's going to be part of my senior hurling, and now's the time to probably be sitting down with him. Or has somebody got to him? Has somebody, you know, I heard a certain rumour that he was spoke to already, you know, about coming back on the county panel by, you know, and we don't even know who the manager is. So look, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, that needs to be sorted, and you know, let's hope in the next few days that this torture and misery and this unfairness is brought to bed.
It'd be great if what we are saying now was kind of in a way undermined by action.
Yeah.
You know, if by Thursday or Friday this week that all this was sorted one way or the other, and at least there was a bit of certainty. But at the moment there's just a complete vacuum. Yeah,
there's nobody calling for snap action here. We don't want instinctive, reactive stuff. We want it measured. We want the right man in place. We want the right people with him, whoever that may be, and that's what's most important. And it's also important that players are engaged in this as well, because from what we're hearing, the players are being kept in the dark as much as anybody else. And while everybody agrees that Donal Maloney deserves a hell of a lot more respect, so too do our players. And if they ask a question of what's going on, they should be told, not fobbed off.
100%. They should be always in the equation of appointments, and you know, nobody wants them dictating the pace and speed of anything, but they should be in the process. They are the people who are going to give the time and effort, and if they're not happy, well then you're fighting a losing battle, as we saw last year in Waterford. You know, we saw a process that where the Waterford players wanted somebody else, the county board gave them the 2 fingers, and they went ahead and ploughed into a manager and it fell down around their feet. They weren't able to walk, never mind run or play hurling, and didn't want to do it. So the process has to involve the players. Yes, they have to have a say. No, they don't dictate the pace and the speed of anything, but they must have a say, and that comes from respect. Colm Collins announced, come back a few weeks back, that he was willing to stay on. His appointment was made fairly rapid and straight. Fair process, greatest respect to him, and that was the right thing to do. Why isn't the right thing to do in this occasion? Donal Maloney has made himself available to the Clare County Board. Why hasn't he either been told, Donal, we're thinking of somebody else, or Donal, it's yours, appointing? Have respect for him.
Yeah, just be completely upfront.
Upfront and up straight. And we often get, or not that it bothers us too much, we ever get a bit of flack because we talk from the hip, we talk straight up, and we give it as we see it. I think that's very fair once there's facts in it and it's factual. So let's hope before the end of the week that everybody that's concerned about Clare GA and has an interest in it starts getting the process finished and start getting our next senior hurling manager in place fast and quick. And let's push on. And even though we're on the back foot a little bit now as it is, and there's that uncertainty causes awful tension. And I just think it could have been handled way better.
Yeah, I suppose going forward the important point is, Fergie, that lessons are learned from this. That it doesn't happen again. That delegates go in and say, well listen, if there's a review to happen, right, it's been asked for in August, we're now at the start of October, we don't know what the review was. So there should be something put in place whereby if a review is called for again, right lads, let's call in again a meeting here in 2 weeks time, we'll sit down and go through who needs to be asked what, who's going to be doing that asking, and when are we going to have an answer. Put a time frame on it, be it 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it is, so that the likes of us and everybody else that's invested in Clare GA knows, right, that process is underway, X, Y and Z are doing it, they're talking to A, B and C, and we're going to have an answer on this date.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this review.
I can't wait for it.
It must be 200, 250 pages long, because it will take, for it to take this long to be processed and to be put together, it must be an absolutely fantastic in-depth into the Clare GA. And I would say it will take delegates probably a week to go back to their clubs and go through this, go through with a fine-tooth comb. And now that if it has been done, now give it another week so to really scrutinise it. If it has took this long, it must be worth reading. It must be worth reading that we're going to get a complete insight into Clare GA coaching and where it stands.
I mean, I hope you're right, Fergie, that we'll be rightly silenced if this magnificent review suddenly kind of is unearthed and it looks at things forensically, and
it could be the blueprint.
I'd say fair play.
Of Clare hurling going forward.
When all is said and done, right, when all the coddling and joking is done, see that picture there behind us? Shane O'Donnell and Derrick above in the pitch in Crow Park with the gold buntings around them. That's the end game and the end goal that everybody wants here. There's no personal agendas. There's nobody cutting down anybody in any position. We're all working towards that goal right there. And that I'm saying that both as us as journalists, who our job is to ask those questions. But no matter what way you dress it up, we're also Clare GA fans. We all enjoyed that day. You can write that down. We all enjoyed that day. I mean, I remember being above in the level 7 of the Hogan stand and the tears coming down my face, and I hugging Marty Morrissey. I'm not the only one that hugs Marty Morrissey, right? But that's what we're all working towards. So that's why people get passionate, and that's why we all want what we're talking about here. Let's finish up on a lighter note, Peter, as we mentioned Marty Morrissey, because Marty completed a unique double this weekend. He commentated, we're told, for in around 55-56 minutes of the All-Ireland Masters played final against Kildare for Clare, left the commentary position, came down and played out the final 5 or 6 minutes as they won that as well. But in a general sense though, that doesn't happen all that often for Clare football. An All-Ireland title coming back, the Masters, the greats of old and some of present as well, putting on the jersey once more.
Yeah, brilliant to see it, and all of those lads gave everything they had as players themselves, and since they, I suppose, started shoving on a bit, they've given enormously to Clare GA.
But isn't it mighty? Isn't it? I just reading the story on it as well, and isn't it great to see the legends of old absolutely putting on the Clare jersey again, representing it, and I spoke to one of them during the week. There was great old pride in doing it and winning the shield, and your man said there was a real Marty party afterwards as well. It went on late into the night. There was a few letters in Clarecastle not delivered the following morning. We'll say no more about it.
No, well done to everybody involved in Mighty Constantine and all the background crew as well. Well done, and they're talking already about the underage academy coming through next year, so that's certainly one to look forward to. Lads, time has caught up with us, and so we have to leave it for this week's Champion podcast. But when we do leave it, we want you to leave your comments as well in terms of what you think of anything that we've said. As we always say, whether you agree or disagree, do get in touch, and we'd love to know your feelings. We're back again next Monday. Pick up the paper on Thursday. There's loads in it as ever, and we'll talk to you next week.